And I have my mouse back. All right. Hi and welcome. It's what is it? Wednesday night. So I've been doing this for a week now because I started out last Wednesday. So thanks for joining me. And tonight I'm going to be doing a second reading from my second book, book 2 of the Walkerville Desires series called Redemption. And so the second story in this book is about Martha Janine, who is Fiona's mother, and Desmond, who is a hairdresser. And so they've been going out with each other for a bit now, and there's been some. They're separated because of some difficulties in their relationship. And Martha Janine's taken herself away from Walkerville and she's taken some time off, and Desmond's being left in Walkerville doing his hairdressing work and not having a very good time. And Martha Janine, in the meanwhile, is up in San Francisco, and she's staying, in a resort area down the coast, and she's taken herself to the Legion of Honor to see the Rodin and Klimt exhibit. The exhibit left her breathless and overwhelmed. Rodin's The Kiss made her weep. The exquisiteness of their embrace, her shock at seeing their toes etched in the bronze, perching to hold each other tightly, made her muffle her tears into her scarf so that no one could see or hear her. Klimt's Two Girls with an Oleander Bush made her laugh. She could almost hear them whispering to each other, sharing secrets. Now let's pretend to talk about the flower, but really tell me how much you love Richard. With the embrace from the Beethoven frieze, Martha Janine was rooted for several minutes as people tutted around her, feeling she was standing in front of it for much too long. Her gut wrenched. She felt overcome with sadness as she was riveted with the young man's back, bracing the woman, protecting her from the world. She found a bench to sit on, heaving, sighing, hoping she wouldn't weep again. A white handkerchief waved gently in front of her. Martha Janine came to from wherever she was, back to the present, to the Legion of Honor, taking a break from all the emotions the exhibit was bringing up. Again, the white handkerchief was waved in front of her. It brushed her cheeks. It patted her face. She took it and noticed the mascara staining the snowy white linen. Looking to her right, she saw an old man sitting next to her, bent forward, gripping an ornate cane. Its head was a bronze-carved lion's head. Noticing, he smiled, rheumatic blue eyes twinkling. Yes, I brought my own bronze today. He spoke with a heavy German accent. His brown woolen driving cap was perched jauntily on his silver head, and his old-fashioned suit was dark gray, shining with too much wear. His brown brogues were worn, although polished to perfection. He examined her, noticing the sadness in her eyes that no amount of makeup could hide, and her mouth trembling with unshed tears. With the confidence of old age, knowing they could say anything to anyone at any time, he admonished, "You go back to your young man. You miss him too much. You are much too sad, young lady." She giggled. No one had called her young in forever. Then she found herself crying again, blowing her nose into his handkerchief. No chance now of turning it to him. A younger woman, probably her own age, looking much like the old man, rushed up to him. "Papa!" She was frazzled looking, as if keeping up with her father was too much. Apologetically, she nodded. She acknowledged Martha Janine, and with a nod, To her father she said, "I hope he hasn't bothered you too much. He just wanders off sometimes." Without waiting to hear from Martha Janine, she forced him to his feet. "Papa, quit running off like that. You're bothering people. Come, let's go get some lunch." As he was led childlike away, he turned back to Martha Janine, eyes still twinkling, smiling at her, leaning on his bronze lion cane. Martha Janine leaned against the red cushioned bench. How remarkable, she thought to herself. She realized her feelings of overwhelm were about being sad, about missing Desmond, about wondering if she had made a mistake. She sat there for a long time, watching the people around her, waiting patiently for their turn to view the exhibits. And much to her astonishment, she cried again. So that's Martha Janine at the Legion of Honor. And the second reading is Desmond and what he's up to. Desmond was glad this was his last customer of the day. It was almost 7, and he'd been at it since 8 a.m., with no time for lunch. Becky had disappeared a while ago, coming back with 2 bags of what smelled like burgers and fries and maybe strawberry milkshakes. After saying goodbye to Mrs. Farland, who wanted to make sure her next appointment was in 6 weeks, Desmond hurried to the break room where Becky was consuming her meal. Holding up the unopened bag of food, she asked, "You hungry?" He pounced on it greedily. "Thank you, thank you." "Desmond, why do you do that? Get so busy you don't take time to eat?" Her mouth was full of fries and she reached for her strawberry milkshake. He shook his head, too busy eating and looking in the small fridge for more ketchup. Becky waved the bottle in front of him since she'd taken it out for her dinner. He poured more ketchup on his bag, using that as a plate. Sopping up fries, he attempted to answer, "I don't know. I just think if I stay busy enough, I won't think about her." Busy? Becky snickered. "You know you're just lying to yourself, right?" Waving a handful of fries at her, he retorted, "What are you, my shrink?" She laughed, gathering up her mess, stuffing everything into the empty bag. "Hey, just so you know, I put these on your tab." With that, she left for the front room. She'd been cleaning chores for the evening as her day had been busy as well. Desmond remained in the back room, relaxing, the breeze from the door calming him, the food in his stomach filling him. All he needed was Martha Janine to love him. Pulling up his phone, he searched for a number. "Desmond?" Fiona asked as she answered her cell phone. "Hey, Fiona, how are you?" He tried to sound cheery. Fiona responded dryly, "Hey, you too. I talked to Mother a couple of days ago, and she sounded just as happy as you do right now." Busted, thought Desmond. Then quickly to himself, well, at least she wasn't happy. Clearing his throat, he asked casually, "So, you've heard from Martha Janine. How is she?" "You mean, where is she?" Fiona chuckled. He could hear muffled voices in the background. Coming back to the phone, Fiona added, "Francis says hi." "Ah, hi back. Hey, where are you two?" He was genuinely curious for some reason. Promptly she replied, "At the big house. We just got here last night. We're meeting with the ag consultant tomorrow." "Oh yeah, I think I knew that," he admitted. Martha Janine had mentioned a meeting with Trevor Collins, the agriculture consultant, whom Fiona hired a few months ago about modernizing the Montrose operations. Is Martha Janine going to be at that meeting?" he asked awkwardly. He got up as Becky came into the room, miming that she was leaving for the night. He nodded, made a thumbs-up sign, while Becky mimed, pointing to the phone, "Martha Janine?" He shook his head. "Fiona," which made Fiona ask, "What?" At the same time, Becky said loudly, "Hey, Fiona!" To which Fiona replied just as loudly, "Hiya, Becky!" Impatiently, Desmond shooed Becky away, who laughed as she left through the door. "Well?" Fiona mocked. "Well, what?" Desmond asked stubbornly. Pragmatically, Fiona asked, "Are you going to ask me where my mother is or not?" Hoping he didn't sound like he was begging, he asked, "Would you tell me?" "Oh, for Pete's sake, quit acting like teenagers, both of you," she chided him. Frustrated, Desmond gave up. "Okay, tell me, please, where is she?" He could hear the smile in her voice as he asked. "La Primavera," she said. This was a high-end resort up the coast with private beaches and trails. The place was well known for discretion. He whistled, "Wow. Does she want to see me?" Fiona laughed so loudly in his ear he had to hold the phone away. Francis came on the line with amusement in his voice. "Desmond? Francis? Hi. Fiona's sort of hysterical right now. She can't talk. She's got her finger to the side of her head, and the finger's twirling around really fast. You know what that means, right?" Desmond groaned. Francis was empathetic. "These Montrose women, you can't live with them and you can't live without them." Desmond could hear an animated Fiona in the background. "Francis Perdue, that's not fair." Francis laughed. "I gotta go. One of those Montrose women is giving me the stink eye." Some time later, Desmond found himself still sitting in his office, looking out the screen door. He couldn't do a stalemate forever. She meant too much to him. So those are the readings for tonight. Again, it's from the second Walkerville Desires book called Redemption. And so I was talking with AC, my person, right, my factotum, and there's, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. So I've got 7 books that we've put out. We have the 8th that we're in the process of editing, and I've got 2 more Walkerville books. So there's going to be probably a total of 10 of them together. And I'm writing some other women's novels, so we'll see. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to look below this whole YouTube piece. It would really help us if you clicked like, if you do. And if you want to find out more information about how to get in touch with me, send me an email. Look at, there's like my little link. Ask me questions, give me some feedback. I love hearing from you. The other thing is that I was talking with somebody, and we are archiving all of these readings. So there's a link to that playlist as long, and that's on the bottom as well. So tomorrow's link, so the link for tomorrow's live stream, that's on the bottom of this as well. Okay. So I'm going to be back at 11 my time, Pacific Standard Time. See you tomorrow. Thank you and good night.